The plan is simple. Build a grav ship and leave the surface world behind. Scorpion already has the essentials. First, the grav engine, the heart, I suppose, of any grav ship. Next, a number of grav-light panels, which acts as the framing for the grav ship. Finally, Scorpion is also in possession of a grav core, a component which isn't immediately required for this early stage of the grav ship's construction, but will, if we can get to that point, it'll certainly be valuable in the long run. There are complications with this process. For starters, neither Scorpion nor myself knows a damn thing about building grav ships. I kept myself as blind as possible to the Odyssey DLC in order to keep things interesting. This is going to be a messy process, to say the least. Our next problem is steel, or rather the lack of it. Scorpion is going to need a life-altering amount of steel to see this project through. We'll also have to establish better defenses. I'm sure Scorpion isn't the only stalker type looking for our grav ship structures. Those defenses take the shape of a perimeter wall that will guide any raiders into the radioactive heat sink produced by a crashed, unstable ship reactor, which produces enough rats to take care of any problems coming our way, in theory. Scorpion will also do everything he can to recruit the sapient zombie we have locked inside of our RV. Gasp, the aforementioned zombie, is smart and capable of reasoning. Scorpion should have no difficulty convincing Gasp of a glorious unlife beyond the RimWorld. Right, circling back to our radioactive kill box, our Constructoid, Printer Gen 2, is busy digging trenches that should prolong all those who spend time inside our rad zone. I know Scorpion and I haven't been the most moral nor merciful of survivors. We haven't exactly made it this far by being paragons of virtue, but something about digging those trenches just saps the humanity out of me. Right, so keeping things simple, our current focus is securing the territory, recruiting Gasp, and gathering everything we can to focus on the grav ship's construction. We'll also put Gasp in a better cell, thus increasing his mood and therefore likelihood of joining. Also, the inside of the RV became so stuffy that the zombie, acclimated to the cold, was suffering from heat stroke from being in there. Eventually, as expected, raiders approached the territory, were attacked by a single, highly dangerous Psycaster that is seemingly attacking out of desperation. Despite being equipped with solid armor and weaponry and Psycasting ability, the raider is suffering from an infection of Mechanoids that's causing him to rapidly age. To make things worse, the raider is already soaked in toxic chemicals. Bro is not having a good time. One thing of note is the raider's xenotype. He's a starjack, the first of his kind ever witnessed by Scorpion. Starjacks are genetically engineered to thrive in the vacuum of space itself, like no wonder he wants our grav tech. Imagine if we could recruit him though. A Psycasting starjack would be the perfect co-pilot. Unfortunately for the starjack, he walks directly into our rad zone while attempting to cross into our territory. And let's not forget the rapid aging he's infected with. When he got here, he was 39, so keep that in mind. The raiding starjack collapses from the ungodly amounts of radiation spilling out of that ship reactor. I was hoping he'd get a bit closer. I'm not about to let that armor nor the starjack himself go to waste. So, despite still recovering from previous brief exposures to radiation, Scorpion will sprint directly into the radiation zone and attempt to grab the raider. The attempt is ultimately successful. The Scorpion's radiation poisoning shot up to 77%. If he spent even one more second within the radiation during that retrieval, he definitely would have passed out and died. So this raider better be worth it. I will say off rip, the armor is certainly making up for the radiation. Right then, now that Scorpion is even more bulletproof, we can get back to the matter at hand. The grav engine will be placed in our newly created shipyard, and efforts will be made to keep the starjack stabilized, in hopes that his rapid aging will pass. By the afternoon of the next day, the starjack has already aged to his early 50s. Wait, scratch that, his late 50s. He's about to be 60 by tomorrow, which is both hilarious and depressing as hell to me. By the time he reached his early 70s, I decided to put him out of his misery. Unfortunately for Scorpion, executing that raider was anything but amusing for him. The execution ceremony was awkward and dehumanizing. Scorpion's mood plummets from the lost humanity and radiation sickness built up in his body. It leaves the entire early process of getting this grav ship constructed, has a sort of grim kind of atmosphere to it. It's like the moment our mind wanders to the stars, we're pulled right back down to reality. It all gets to Scorpion's head in the form of a food binge, which is the perfect moment for Gasp, of all times, to perform a prison break. Luckily, Gasp is only able to get away with an auto pistol. He did gun down our Constructoid, Printer Mark II, but he's repaired by the time Scorpion gets out of his food binge the next day. Not so long after that, enough construction is done on the platform that Scorpion decides to name the grav ship. I decided to go with the pre-generated name, the Gray Vessel. Maybe one day it'll be worthy of naming it something like Maria. But for now, the Gray Vessel is a solid name for what will most likely be Scorpion's giant gray coffin. Not so long after that, another strange omen from the stars falls over Scorpion's territory in the form of a psi-storm. A strange color out of space passes over the territory, giving way to all sorts of strange flora and perhaps even fauna to be drawn to the territory. The psi-storm has other effects. As the name implies, psychic activity drives anyone outside of a roof to, well, they're subjected to strange psychic happenings. As we can see here, Scorpion has just succumbed to a berserk state. The rage drives Scorpion into cutting down Printer Gen 2, a poor Constructoid can't take a break, followed by Scorpion marching around with a butcher's knife, splitting the skull of any animal that he comes across. The psi-storm will pass without issue. Even bigger problems arise the day after the storm passes. Of course, in the form of a raid. Specifically, a raid by a tribe of fire-spitting Impids. The Impids are cut down with little difficulty thanks to Scorpion's firepower, coupled with the ancient auto turret that came pre-installed in this place. I ultimately decided to rescue 2 of the downed Impids in hopes of making a friend, ally, and crewmate. It's funny, shortly after I say these words, one of the Impids that we stabilized immediately joins the colony. A 32-year-old Impid named Panola, who only has 6 hours to live thanks to, being filled with lead by Scorpion's auto rifle. I found the name Panola to be, just annoying to say over and over again, so I nicknamed her based off of her last name, Nadawi. Nadawi was smart to immediately bend the knee to Scorpion's cause, as, that's plenty of excuse for us to use the best medicine we can on her in order to stabilize her condition. By the following morning, Nawadi is already up and walking again, though she is crippled from all the gunshot wounds. Now that she can keep an eye out on the territory, which I understand is a lot of trust to put into her, Scorpion, alongside Anklebiter, his little security guard robot, can move to the edge of the map here and enter another territory, a neighboring space, in order to scavenge for more steel to bring back to the camp. As Scorpion returns to the side of the grav ship, the other Impid, Kestaju, voluntarily joins the colony as well. Both Nadawi and Kestaju immediately prove themselves to be loyal and dependable, for now at least. Understandable, if I was mag dumped and stitched back together and given another chance, I'd bend the knee in a heartbeat. The rest of the RimWorld could eat a dick. Thanks to the combined efforts of Nadawi, Kestaju, and Printer Gen 2, construction of the Grey Vessel's first chem fuel tank is completed. I'm just gonna say it plainly. When it comes to the shape, layout, design, whatever you want to call it, of the Grey Vessel, I just need you to trust the process. This ship is going to be one of the ugliest, jam-packed, strangest looking vessels you've ever seen. It'll probably look more like an insane hoarder's flying RV than a proper grav ship. But again, you'll just have to trust the process and let me cook. But you have been warned. Then, only after spending 2 days or so with Scorpion, something insane happens. Royal tribute collectors arrive on the territory. If memory serves, this is the first time Scorpion has been met with the Empire faction of this RimWorld in, about 10 years. 10 RimWorld years. If you recall, Scorpion is actually an Empire deserter, after having been saved by Maria so long ago. But it seems enough time has passed that the Empire's opinion on Scorpion is no different than any other RimWorld scav. So why is this such a big deal? Well, now that the Empire is neutral to Scorpion, he can attempt to garner favor with the Empire and explore all the features associated with the Royalty DLC. More importantly, garnering favor with the Empire will grant Scorpion psi-casting abilities. Do I even need to explain just how insane a psi-casting Scorpion could be? Now, with all that in mind, how do we garner favor with the Empire? Well, at this current moment, it's done via these tribute collectors that just visited the colony. And those tribute collectors are only looking for one thing that we can give them. Slaves. Nadawi and Kestaju serve Scorpion well. Their only use to Scorpion now is to peacefully get into a cage, be sold into slavery, and allow Scorpion to further advance his power and status on the RimWorld. It's only fitting, then, that Scorpion spends some time stargazing immediately after handing over slaves as tribute. This is the kind of decision I normally put up as a poll for the patrons to decide. Also, hello patrons. Appreciate your investment, as always, and thank you for participating in all of this channel's behind-the-scenes stuff. Anyway, I'd normally leave something like this, like selling people into slavery, up to you, up to the patrons, but not this time. Taking steps towards psi-casting was simply too tempting to miss out on. Our xeno-humanitarian side can show mercy some other time. Anyways, Scorpion's tribute is rewarded in the form of honor. Enough honor that Scorpion receives the title of Freeholder. So we should expect to see more quests from the Empire. Unfortunately, as we near day 30, I realize the RV has to go. We need its parts. A lot of this process was possible thanks to the Lake Mountain Creed, Scorpion's ideology, which has its scavenging precept set to maximum efficiency. Scorpion takes longer to build and research most things, but in exchange, Scorpion wastes absolutely zero materials. Any construction material used by him is refunded in full upon its deconstruction, making the entire process of building this grav ship, or, well, doing anything, a hell of a lot easier to say the least. Trouble inevitably rises several days into the construction of the ship itself, in the form of cultist hate chanters, servants of the Anomaly who herald its return into Scorpion's life. My mind wanders back to that bunker, back to all the anomalous hell that permeates across the frozen over, nigh inhabitable wastelands outside of the green belt lining the equator. The Anomaly never forgets, and here it is, and it is hateful. While construction of the gray vessel is far from complete, the vessel is now capable of in-orbit flight, but we're not exactly in a rush to go anywhere quite yet. We just finished Phase 1 of the grav ship's development. Phase 2 would involve turning the grav ship into a self-sustainable habitat that keeps Scorpion and the gray vessel itself fed. This shouldn't be too difficult for Scorpion to achieve. I'd like to think that the wisdom earned from being trapped underground for hundreds of days would help in actuating Phase 2. Also, as you can see, we attached wheels to this thing thanks to the vehicle mod, whatever it's called, vehicle mod framework or something. So the gray vessel is also like a gray tank or something. It's a house on wheels. It's an RV. I don't know, you get it. It's a mobile flying grav ship fortress habitat science lab restaurant house shelter bunker. It's a flying bunker. How'd you like that editing? I just skipped forward like 5 days in those jump cuts. Anyway, here we find Scorpion having just destroyed a Diabolus Mechanoid. a massive achievement for us of the Lake Mountain Creed. The Diabolus attacked us because Scorpion asked it to, specifically by using the Grey's newly created comms terminal. You see, Scorpion is still an early-level Mechanitor. By performing specific steps, Scorpion can use his Mechanitor abilities to beckon hostile mechanoids that possesses valuable tech required to further Scorpion's Mechanitor ability. He can make more mechs, better mechs, etc., all by defeating increasingly dangerous mechs and harvesting them for their parts. The first of these dangerous mechs is a Diabolus mech, which can only be summoned via a comms terminal, as mentioned earlier, so long as you own a Mechanitor colonist. That brings us to this very moment. Diabolus is destroyed, and now we can take its Tier 1 signal chip and keep it for ourselves. The signal chip will allow us to research even further, mechanoid stuff. We'll get there in time. Also, as you probably noticed in the background there, the Diabolus mech didn't come alone. An entire frickin' mech drop is literally just around the bend of the Grey Vessel itself. An entire Mechanoid printing facility is sat there offline. So we have everyone staying inside for as long as possible right now in hopes of not triggering that Mechanoid swarm. And I decided to keep the Diabolus mech's corpse. Maybe there's some method to reviving them under our control. Though I doubt it. We can always scrap it for parts. Right, so where are we left now? Well, the grav ship is complete, a Tier 1 signal chip has been secured, and now Scorpion and his mechs remain secured inside of the Grey until that nearby mech cluster is dealt with. Scorpion will use this time to research vac suits, which are essentially spacesuits with limited ability. This wound up making for a fine demo analogous to life in orbit, a sort of training and preparation for life off-world. The whole mech printer issue is solved by a friendly combat supplier, which arrives nearly 10 days after Scorpion put down the Diabolus mech. This encounter took a mild toll on Scorpion in the form of being lit the hell up by mechs and some friendly fire. Nothing he can't shake off after some good medicine and a long overdue mental break, I suppose. As for the caravan that fought Scorpion's fight, well, we thank the Fallen for laying down their life for the indifferent. It's been over 70 days since we began the Grey's construction. It ain't pretty, and it's certainly far from efficient, but it gets the job done. We have a comms terminal, trade terminal, freezer, plenty of storage, smelters, fabricators, workbenches, tailor benches, cooking benches, high-tech research benches, refineries, mech chargers, and gestators, and you get it. The ship is primarily powered by toxic waste pack generators, so the toxic waste packs generated by our mechanoids should keep the Grey's power fed. That means then that Phase 2 is complete. The grav ship is a temperature-controlled habitat capable of long-term stay, so long as we leave any unused devices powered off. That brings us to Phase 3 then. Phase 3 would specifically involve power efficiency and fire prevention, two oddly specific yet extremely invaluable measures that have to be taken. Oh shit. Bloated fungal husks shamble onto the territory. Corpses, animated by fungus in a manner similar to The Last of Us, are bolting straight for the ship. These things are infectious as all hell. And while the spores are treatable, I simply refuse to take any risks against them. Only moments after their arrival, the husks nearly reach the ship. Scorpion bolts for the pilot's seat and sets course for anywhere but here. We're not going to space yet. The Grey doesn't have the power for it. Wherever we're going will still be planet-side. We'll have to talk about Phase 3 later. For now, the Grey vessel makes her maiden launch and tears off into the sky.